In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power! Green Lantern's light!
And we are live. What's going on, everybody? So a couple days ago, HBO recently released a trailer to the new show called Lanterns that's coming out later this year. It's supposed to take place in the new DCU that James Gunn is building up, and it's starring Aaron Pierre and Kyle Chandler as John Stewart and Hal Jordan. Basically, the story is supposed to take place on a small town in Earth where the two are solving this mystery that's supposed to take place in the larger DC plot or something like that, or it's supposed to lead off into the larger DC plot or whatever. Nonetheless, they dropped the trailer for Lanterns, and it basically got a lot of people talking about it. And while there are a lot of good reviews on it, a lot of hope and optimism towards it, on the opposite side, there are a lot of people that aren't really too happy with the way things are looking, if that's the nicest way to put it. There's a side of the fan base that has seen the trailer and feel like there's not enough Green Lantern in the Lanterns trailer. Not enough lanterns in general in the trailer. I think that's how a lot of people feel. That's a big concern for a lot of people, myself included, because in a show where, you're talking about Green Lantern, you would think that in the teaser trailer, they would show more Green Lantern stuff. Now, obviously, it is just a teaser trailer, so I don't expect them to drop everything in there and show all the scenes of them suited up and in action and all of that. But for a teaser trailer, it really did not give a lot of more insight until at least the Green Lantern aspect of things for the show. Apparently, it's supposed to be like this true detective, true crime type of feel to it, buddy cop thing, where Hal and John Stewart, Hal being a mentor and John Stewart being a student, they're basically, like I said, solving this mystery on this small town, or whatever. A lot of people just are not really happy with the lack of Green Lantern in the trailer. Also, a lot of people are finding fault with how bad the suit looks. And I do think that the suit looks pretty bad, but I am at least under some type of copium to where I think that maybe when he puts his power ring and all that, the suit will have a light to it or whatever, or glow a little bit or whatever. You know what I'm saying. There's going to be a little bit more added to the suit, but I will say in my concerns, the suit hanging up on a pair of hangers is a little alarming. All I'm going to say is that I'm just going to give them time and see what happens when the show comes out. I am also not on the side of bashing it or writing the show off before I give it a good chance. It's called being neutral. But that's not the reason that I'm making this video today. The reason that I'm making this video, and most likely the reason that you're clicking on this, is because I want to talk about the time that they tried to bring Green Lantern to the live action 15 years ago, how it failed horribly. 2011's Green Lantern, starring Ryan Reynolds, is one of those type of movies where it has been literally lost and forgotten. Just, I guess, with all of the other shit movies that has came out since then, it's not really one of the movies that a lot of people talk about, at least. I mean, a lot of people can say that this movie is universally bad. It has very poor scores, very poor audience reception, all that. That would be a big reason to why people are not talking about a piece of shit like this. But at the same time, I mean, there are a lot of movies like Catwoman, Daredevil, those old school superhero movies that came out that people are still using clips from.
What do they call you? Wheels? This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Why not this movie? Why not Green Lantern 2011? I mean, was it so bad that it's just irredeemable? It's just nothing. It's no type of content that even like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're scrolling online and like you don't even see no type of content coming from this movie, no clips or nothing. That's wild to me. But why is that? Off rip, I'm going to answer that question. 2011's Green Lantern's biggest cardinal sin is that this movie is boring as fuck. I watched this movie 3 times, once with my girlfriend, twice by myself. And I can tell you that out of the 3 times I watched this, 0 times did I enjoy it. The movie is just really painfully boring. As far as the casting goes, Ryan Reynolds is perfect as Hal Jordan. The guy they got to play Sinestro is pretty fucking good himself. What happened? Green Lantern is a concept himself of where it's endless possibilities. So many things you can do with him. How do you screw up this bad with him to the point where nobody even references your movie, references clips from the movie, nothing? That's wild to me. But before I get into how boring this movie is, I want to start back here and talk about at least give this movie a little bit of credit, give this movie a little bit of good merit. And I can say that one thing, like I said, for sure. The casting on this movie is spot on. Ryan Reynolds, that's perfect. The nigga that plays Sinestro, perfect. Feels good. It feels like, at least looks like an accurate Green Lantern live adaptation brought to the big screen. This is as pretty accurate as you can get, at least in 2011. The acting in this movie is not bad. I mean, yes, like sometimes some of the performances can dip a little bit. Some of the lines are a little janky or a little ass or whatever. But for the most part, the acting is fine in this movie. I didn't think that this movie was like terribly acted or really terribly written in terms of dialogue between the characters. I didn't think this was like one of the worst movies I didn't watch and one of the worst, lines of dialogues I didn't have to sit through. No, it's not even on that level. And I watched Tubi, trust me. It's some pretty bad stinky pieces of shit out there that you can watch and just have to force yourself to sit through. Another good thing I have to probably say about this movie, I like the amount of green it has in it. This movie, for a 2011 movie, like I said, me rewatching this movie, looking back at it, I didn't expect it to be as boldly green as it was. I don't know. I feel like this movie is way more greener than I remembered it. Like, they are not afraid to have green be in every part of this movie. It's a lot of green in this movie, and I didn't really expect that. So what we got? Good casting, decent acting, a lot of green. I want to be a little controversial here. So I know a lot of people talk about this movie and talk about how bad the suit looks and all that for him. Honestly, I think the suit looks pretty good. Effects around it obviously aren't that good. They aren't top notch, but the suit is actually pretty nice. It's pretty cool. I think that, like I said, for 2011, 2010, this is, as far as the look, this is the way a Green Lantern movie would look in 2010, 2011. So in that department, the suit for this movie, good job, at least in my opinion. Now time to get into the bad. Off rip, like I said, this movie's biggest cardinal sin is that it's very, 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 very boring. Watching this movie 3 times, I don't really think I enjoyed this movie. I legitimately watched this movie with the intent of being like, okay, maybe it's not as bad as everybody says, and maybe it's not as bad as I remember it.
You serious?
But that's not true. It definitely is as bad as everybody says, and it is as bad as I remember it. Not for necessarily, I think, the reasons that I've seen a lot of people talk about, at least. I feel like I said, the biggest thing with this movie is that it's just really boring. And when it comes to being a bad movie, everybody knows that the worst thing about a bad movie is not when it's hilariously bad, but when it's boring bad. a 2 out of 10 bad Tubi movie that'll make you laugh your ass out, and I would take that over any day of like a boring generic fan forced type of generic superhero slop movie that's just by the numbers, by the books, by the studio numbers. No, like I would really take a terrible Tubi movie over any type of boring bad movie any day of the week. I'm rambling, I'm yapping. I would be sitting here talking about a few things for a long time. Let's just get into talking about the movie and actually taking a look back on it and seeing where they actually went wrong. Because my whole thing is they set up a sequel at the end of this movie. It's supposed to be a sequel with Sinestro and like him embracing the yellow ring and being the next villain for the next movie and all that. Yeah, obviously they didn't get a second movie, but this movie was pretty confident in itself. They had Amanda Waller in the movie. I literally remember somewhere in my notes, I literally had like Amanda Waller is here. Big enough DC character to where she can kind of really be in any story for real because of her position and the role she plays in a lot of stories and in the DC universe in general. But I was just like, bro, what is a skinny Amanda Waller doing here in a 2011 Green Lantern movie? This movie, to just break it down for you real quick, it's basically an origin story, talking about, you know, Hal Jordan, giving into his backstory and all that, talking about how his dad died in a horrific plane test flight accident when he was young, and how that kind of impacted him growing up, and sooner or later he followed in his dad's footsteps, became a pilot. But, you know, because of the trauma of his dad dying right in front of his eyes. His dad blew up right in front of his eyes, by the way. Like, it's traumatic as fuck, but that shit is literally funny as fuck to me. That nigga was running up in slow motion. His dad made, like, that little classic movie smile where it's like, oh, he's finna die. And then he went kaboom, no bazooka. Basically a story about a man dealing with fear and insecurities due to things in his past. If you just talk about some of this stuff as a concept alone, you'll be like, that's not a bad concept. For a Green Lantern movie, that's not a bad concept. Fear and having it so intricate to like his personal life and, you know, how it affected him. And, you know, now that's something that he has to get over as a human and as a superhero. That's pretty fucking cool, honestly. But it's like this movie was trying to just rush through so much to get to like a end where nothing really happens except for a CGI monster fight. It was I don't want to get into that though. Not right now. They're trying to tell the story of Hal Jordan's backstory, and they're trying to, you know, explain his uprising, his, you know, the way he came about. I'm explaining the extended cut version, by the way. After the movie shows a little intro of him you know, losing his dad to the plane accident or whatever. It shows him into the modern era. You know, he's reckless, immature. Everybody loves to beat him over the head and tell him straight up exactly what he is. Just really wants to just beat home that Hal Jordan is immature and reckless and irresponsible.
Hey, Carol. It's gonna maybe do a little flying today. What do you think?
I think you're late.
Yes, but that's only because I slept in.
I used to sleep in. Then I turned 11.
If you didn't know that, the movie told me that 15 times throughout. So I think that I got the message across. Hal Jordan is irresponsible and reckless. This modern day Hal Jordan, he's a pilot. He's following his dad's footsteps. He's having like this test pilot thing where the Air Force wants to see how him and his partner of his could do against 2 AI piloted jet fighters or something like that. Whatever. He pulls like a risky move to beat both of them. Honestly, in the movie, they were kind of tearing him apart about it, but I actually agreed with it. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, shit, if we in a war situation where, you know, I'm a jet fighter or something like that, shit, you gotta do anything you gotta do to win. So I actually fuck with the way he handled that. But of course, you know, he came back to the office and everybody's like, oh my God, that was so stupid. That was so reckless. That was so stupid. How could you? You destroyed our property and thousands of dollars worth of property. But goddamn, son, that was some goddamn flying. That was some goddamn good flying.
You stupid son of a bitch.
Stand down, Bob. It doesn't matter now.
It does matter. Never mind that you crashed a brand new F-35. You broke the rules of engagement. You sacrificed your wingman. And you blew the contract that this company and half the state was depending on.
I'm sorry. I thought this was a dogfight. I was under the impression the objective was to win.
Whatever, you already know everybody's going to criticize him, but at the end of the day, he's not going to really face no real consequence or real action or have to face any type of actions after that because he's the main character. Green Lantern stuff showing like the ever-growing threat with like Parallax escaping and Abin Sur getting beat up in a fight or getting damaged pretty badly in a fight and having to find a new ring user and all that. Intro was basically bouncing between those two storylines, and now they converge into where Abin Sur has traveled all the way through light and space to Earth, and he tells the ring, hey, go find somebody that's worthy, go find somebody that's worth being a Green Lantern, worth to take on this responsibility, take on this heavy load. How, just getting back from the flight test and all that, he has to come home to more of his family scoring at him and tell him how reckless he is and, how immature and irresponsible he is, of course. Until, when he's talking to his nephew and I guess like the ring's aura goes inside of him, like it chooses him or something like that. It picks him or whatever. I don't really know how you want to put it. But after the party or whatever, that aura of energy that like went inside his chest early on, it turns into a literal force field and picks him up and grabs him and carries him to Abin Sur's dead body. Well, not dead body, but his dying body. And, him and Hal have like a brief exchange. He's telling him the oath, great responsibility, great power, yada, yada, yada. Hal's not really understanding 2 cents of what this man is trying to tell him. It tries to bounce around the ideas of fear and insecurity and tries to really hammer down this point of like this trauma that he experienced is really just made him this super insecure man-child that's just super irresponsible and that nobody can trust, when it's like, all right, yeah, I get it, but like, if we're just thinking logically, if my dad died if he was a pilot, right, and my dad was on a pilot flying jet fighters and all that, and he died in a crash, I don't think that my first thought will be to go in the same field that my dad died in. That's just off rip. I don't think that, especially to witness it like the way he did. Yeah, no, thank you. A plane. I'm not going around that for the rest of my fucking life. But no, here he's happily wants to be a pilot, and like I said, the movie is trying to bounce it off of the tones of fear and security. It just does it so poorly. Another bad thing about this movie is the action, or the lack of action there is. I watched this movie 3 times. I watched theatrical cut and the extended cut. The extended cut is only 10 minutes more. It only literally adds in like a beginning scene of like a flashback of, instead of showing a flashback, it's actually the flashback of his dad blowing up in the fucking plane and all that. Which I do think that beginning scene does help the movie pace itself out a little bit better, but at the end of the day, it's still pretty shit. Another thing about this movie is that it really just was not a lot of fighting in it. Like, looking back on it, this movie, it's a whole lot of like people just walking in rooms talking, people just talking, a lot of talking. And I think honestly, when I was 9 years old, I think that was probably like the big part for this movie, is that I came into this movie as a 9-year-old child expecting to see Green Lantern make constructs and blow up shit. The action literally does not start in this movie until around like the hour and 45-second mark. Maybe no, I'm tweaking. 45 minutes from before. The action in this movie literally doesn't start until like the last 45 to 30 minutes. So you have a whole hour and 15 of just talking, lame jokes, slightly boring dialogue. You mix in all these things and it just this movie is just so fucking boring. And the crazy thing is about Green Lantern is that, like, at least conceptually, when you think about him, there's an infinite amount of possibilities, an infinite amount of stories that you can tell with Green Lantern. And the fact that this is the story you decided to put out speaks volumes. With a movie like Green Lantern, you would think that, all right, maybe at least in the scenes of, okay, not a lot of fighting. Okay, there's a lot of talking. Maybe in the scenes where they're training Hal Jordan, they'll really get wacky with the constructs. They'll really show like how, some of the alien Green Lanterns could think of some constructs that you never even seen, like human Green Lanterns. A human couldn't even think of, because obviously if it's two different species that are across galaxies, aliens are gonna have certain creations, certain things that they think of that we're just not even possible even fathoming that thought. Does this movie explore interesting ideas like that? No. Instead, it's just a lot of talking. And I'm just so confused as to why is it so much talking in a Green Lantern movie. I'm coming to a eureka moment. This movie speeds past all the like lantern shit, but really likes to take time with like the human side of things. And I think that's where this movie fucks up at. To a point where the lantern shit, they go through it so fast and they just try to speed rush everything regarding the cosmic side of this story, where there's no meat and potatoes on it. So you're just left watching stuff happen, watching characters talk, watching him get his suit, watching him train, watching this boring ass 5-minute training montage, watching, all these relationships build up quickly and, elevate quickly and all that, because the movie doesn't want to spend a lot of time with the Green Lantern shit. It wants to spend time with Hal Jordan as a human and seeing how he can balance between being a pilot and being Green Lantern or something, I guess, or whatever. I don't fucking know. Pretty dog shit boring. It's literally like it doesn't create no dopamine effect in your head when you're watching this movie. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like that little spike in your head where you're like, oh my God, I'm watching something that's interesting, that's piquing my mind, that's making me, waking my mind up. This movie is like a snooze fest, bro. Literally. It's a snooze fest. I really don't recommend watching it 3 times. I do recommend watching the movie again, formulating your own opinion on it, but I definitely don't recommend watching this movie 3 times. The romance subplot in here, it's fine, I guess. I mean, chemistry between him and her, like, I don't really, do I buy it? Sure. I guess now it's time to talk about, like, the Green Lantern stuff, maybe? I don't know. Like, this movie is just a really big I don't know, if I'm being honest with you. It's not, I wish that it was like way more in my mind that I could really rip apart from watching this movie, but honestly, it's just a whole lot of nothing. I had to do like a little training montage or something like that, showing how he gets used to his powers. He gets acclimated pretty quickly to them. He can fly off the rip. He knows how to make constructs already. And, I could see them saying that on some, like, he's a fast learner. That's how strong his willpower and imagination is. But his constructs only branch from giant fist, punching fist, to, like, the most basic stuff like a car, a racetrack. Like, that's why I said, back to my whole point in the beginning, is where in a Green Lantern movie, you would think that with the power and skill set of imagination and willpower, the opportunities, the endless possibilities, the stories, the fight scenes, it could be so much that you could pour into the imagination simply alone of this character. But instead, they just go with this very generic, by the numbers superhero movie. Part of me does wish that, like, they at least would have got a sequel, so maybe we could have seen what a sequel would have looked like with Sinestro as the villain, and I guess Hal Jordan more acclimated to his Green Lantern role and status and all that. But speaking on Sinestro, by the way, Sinestro pops up in the movie every few times. He's here, he pops up just to show like, yeah, I am in the movie. A lot of Sinestro scenes are like him just talking with other people, talking with the Guardians, talking to other Green Lanterns. Like I said, this movie, for a Green Lantern movie, it's a lot of talking, a lot of talking, a lot of walking into offices or dark spaces, dark gray spaces, and just talking about things. So I think that the casting for Sinestro is pretty damn good. I mean, Sinestro is definitely a character in this movie that I would have liked to seen more in this movie, at least. Instead of this being like some half mash between him on Earth and all that, why not just show him fully going into the Green Lantern, Sinestro being like his mentor and like showing that relationship? Why didn't we get a movie about like that, like building that, like having that dynamic playing out would have been way more interesting than having all these scenes where they are so separated. Now that I'm thinking about it, this movie didn't really even have Sinestro and Hal Jordan in the same room together a lot of the time. Now, I'm not saying it had to, but shit. Oh, I don't really like you because you took the spot of my dead teammate. I think that chemistry could have worked pretty fine if it had gave more time to flesh out and actually have a correct arc to it. Yeah, I think that actually could have been a good plot to balance this movie on. And now we have a second villain of the movie. Like, nah, that ain't it. Nah, that ain't it, bro. I can't. Honestly, I literally almost forgot about him until talking about him right now. The second villain of this movie is unnecessary. That nigga Hector Hammond, I get it. I get his whole thing. Like, oh, I'm the nerd. Nobody likes me. Nobody respects me. I'm an incel. Yada, 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 yada. It was like the parts where everybody was just acting like a complete asshole to him. And I'm just like, yeah, of course. Right. I almost forgot about him for a second, honestly. He's an unnecessary add-in. I really feel like the plot they gave Hector Hammond in this movie, that could have really went to Sinestro. It showed how Parallax is slowly polluting his mind, and because if we need an avatar of good in this movie, we need an avatar of evil or whatever. So if Green Lantern's gonna be the avatar of willpower, we need an avatar of fear. They could have just had Sinestro play that Hammond part. I mean, yeah, not necessarily with inspecting the alien body and being a human on Earth and all that, but I mean, if you want to just show somebody slowly allowing their mind to get corrupted by this evil entity that consumes on fear, then I think that Sinestro probably would have been the best case for it. When I look back at it, Sinestro's story was he lost the strongest Green Lantern and his best friend to this enemy. He's losing way many more strong brothers and sisters to this enemy. If anything, that relatively should have been with Sinestro. Metal solid type of iron fence wall around him, but it's starting to slowly crack because of this new enemy, of this new threat that is nothing like they've ever faced before, and it is wiping out the people that he knows. If the movie just would have bounced between Hal and Sinestro, just kept it between them two, I think this movie actually would have done a little bit better than the actual final product that came out. But I digress. Yeah, they could have just, the second villain in this movie, they could have just kept him. It was no reason for him. And then out of nowhere, he just randomly, part of his subplot is that he randomly is just so obsessed with, the main character's love interest. Of course, why not? They have Amanda Waller in this movie. In a sense, they kind of give, a small little backstory about her, showing, how her family got killed and how she had to, visit all of their graveyards and all that. But I was just very surprised that in 2011, she showed up. She showed up in this movie, and I'm just like, Amanda Waller? Literally, I had it in my notes. I'm like, Amanda Waller is in this movie, crying face emoji. Yeah, she's here. I can't really think of any other characters to really talk about. I mean, you have the typical sidekick best friend character. I think his name was Tom. He was cool. He was a cool guy. I think his lines were a little bit funny. I think his delivery was pretty good. I'm grasping for straws here to kind of really even talk about this movie in the concept, because the movie is just so damn boring. Like, I'm looking deeper into the movie than the movie wants to even show itself. That's actually what's happening right now, is that I'm trying to look into this movie deeper than the movie is even possibly can go. I don't think the movie even has these type of waters that go this deep. I think this movie is a very shallow, by the books movie. And I don't really enjoy watching these type of bad movies when you have the delicious slop there is on Tubi that will entertain you for nights on nights to come. And no, this is not a Tubi ad, or a Tubi promotion, but hey, if they want to sponsor me or something like that, or we want to talk about getting some product out, I'm here. At the end, you get the big fight, the CGI monster fight. This villain apparently was a fucking CGI monster cloud floating around space, eating other planets. He got to Earth and started highly lollygagging, heading towards Earth. I think because he sensed, I don't know if he sensed Green Lantern or sensed a piece of himself, like in another universe. So he was like, oh, let me head where that is, because I can, it's like a hive mind thing, like he could see through himself or whatever. Long story short, the Parallax is the most forgettable, like, villain of all fucking time. His name sounds like a bad laxative. One of them old school commercials that used to come on for like mesothelioma or some shit.
Attention. If you or a loved one was diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
Like, it's like one of the fucking medicines you could take with it, Parallax. The crazy thing is it's moving so fast, but yet it just is not saying a lot, and that's very awkward. Since it's not taking time to actually flush out certain things or to actually stay on certain points and topics, I think that, like, the movie is legitimately boring because of that. Like, I don't know how to put that. Like, it's very weird, because usually when you watch a type of movie like this with how quick they're going through stuff, usually the movie's funny bad, because it's like they're moving so fast that, like, 1 minute you get here and something, and, like, you're like, how the fuck did we get here? It was one scene like that. That scene where, like, I guess, like, Hector's dad and, like, Amanda Waller fucking lure him to, like, the lab that he was doing experiments, and they say, like, oh yeah, because apparently at this point something's wrong with him. So they're like, oh yeah, we need you in the lab to see something or something like that, whatever. It's just something to get him down to the lab. And when he's in there, right, so they're all in there, and now I don't know if, like, maybe Hal Jordan was just flying around or something. This is totally disconnected. That's what I'm saying. This is totally disconnected. I don't know if he was just flying around, was walking around, grabbed a slice of pizza, happened to be in a fucking area, but, like, the nigga just popped up. Like, when he was, like, when the main villain was, well, not the main villain, when the second villain was on his way to, like, killing Amanda Waller and his dad in the lab and all that, Green Lantern just busts through the fucking roof and is like, yo, I'm here. I was in the area. Like, I didn't know Green Lantern had, like, fucking superhearing or something. I don't know. Like I said, that very funny. It's a lot of scenes like that where stuff is just kind of happening, and it's happening so quick. But it's like since the movie is just not taking enough time to actually flush out these things, it just is so boring, because you're just watching things happen, and then you're just watching things happen to get to the next thing. This thing has to happen to get to the next thing. This thing has to happen to get to the next thing. It's not really storytelling. It's more like you're watching an obligation film, like a film that's obligated to hit checkpoints, obligated to hit check marks. Make sure that that you have this in for the general audience. Like, it's such a by the numbers movie, and that's the most saddest thing about it, I think, honestly, when looking back at this movie, is that you can look at this movie and see and look through the crevices, the deep dark crevices, and you can see an actual decent, nice Green Lantern movie deep down in there. But it's like they're so afraid to stay on the Green Lantern stuff for too long that they hurry up and rush back to the human stuff. The human stuff is fine. It's not terrible, honestly. But the point of it is, this is a Green Lantern show. We want to see Green Lantern movie, excuse me. We want to see a Green Lantern in his element. And my camera is dying on the constant. So we're going to have to kind of wrap this up in a little speed run, just like the movie wants to so bad. The movie, like I said, is not as bad as I remembered it, or not as bad as I think it's been shitted on in the past at least. But it is still egregiously bad in the ways of where this movie is extremely boring. Wasn't a fun watch. Wasn't that fun to, I guess you could say, explain. But hopefully I got my words out there clear. If in the comments, if you guys agree with anything that I said or anything like that, let me know. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the new trailer, the new movie, not the new movie, the new show, the old movie, whatever. As far as Green Lantern, period. Just let me know your comments. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, this camera is dying, so I don't have a lot of time left. Spend your time wisely. Don't spend your time watching boring movies like this. There's plenty of bad movies on Tubi that need the views and need the engagement. So go wake your mind up with something actually fun. And Cece, me and Cece are gonna get to playing outside or something like that probably. So see you guys later.
Let those who worship evil's might beware my power! Green Lantern's light!